KX News Storm Team.
Welcome back to KX News at 10. I'm meteorologist Michael Gonzalez, and really quickly, let's just take a look at how chilly we got this morning. It was another frosty one. We had some upper 20s there at Hazen and just a little bit below freezing at a couple locations, and across the board, quite a few places got there into the mid-30s, well into that frost-making territory. And isn't it nice to look at these temperatures and know that we are not going to have to be dealing with any of that for the next at least week or so, I would think, maybe even into next week. So right now we're sitting there in the mid-50s, even some 60s still hanging on, even at about 10:15 p.m. So we are not going to be getting anywhere near those 30s tonight. Generally upper 40s across the board are expected as we push into tonight, largely thanks to these southerly winds, which we can see flowing up from the south. That is because we are behind this region of high pressure that had brought us that cooler air mass. It has finally drifted off well into the lower Midwest region and continues to push off well to the east, bringing the cool air mass along with it. And because of that, as I mentioned, we have these southerly winds that are flowing up from the south, bringing with them much warmer temperatures. There are some clouds that we might see pushing into the western part of our area tonight and even into early tomorrow morning because of this disturbance that's pushing on through Wyoming, but that's expected to drift off to our south. The thing we are going to be watching that will push in tomorrow is this other disturbance that's up towards Alberta. It's expected to slowly drift off towards North Dakota tomorrow afternoon. With it, we're not expecting much except for maybe some high clouds, but importantly, it may help drag in some smoke from wildfires out towards British Columbia. So it might be a little bit of a smoky afternoon for your Monday, but the overall pattern is demonstrating that we have this weak ridge here that is weak enough that it's allowing these little disturbances to flow through, but strong enough that it's displacing any cool air from making its way here into the northern plains. This cool air mass, this is a thing of the past. It is going to push off to the east, and we're going to be dealing with much nicer temperatures as we push through the remainder of this week, and perhaps even a bit of rain as we get later into the week. Tonight, as I'd mentioned, we are not going to be dealing with any frost concerns, maybe some mid-40s at the very coolest in our eastern tier counties, but across the board, generally upper 40s and even some lower 50s out towards the Montana border. So looking a lot more pleasant as you go out the door tomorrow morning. That should say Monday a.m., I just realized. For tomorrow, we are going to be looking at high temperatures generally in the mid-80s, even some upper 80s out towards Montana. Might even see a 90 sneak out towards Sydney and Wolf Point region. That's not guaranteed, but across the board, it will be feeling fairly warm. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, we are going to see smoke start to filter in as we push through your Monday early afternoon hours from the west as that disturbance pushes on through with those clouds and perhaps some smoke concerns out towards Dickinson and the southwestern part of the state. The smoke should hang around through much of Monday, especially west of US 83, and then hopefully drift on out of here by the time we reach Tuesday. So the general pattern will demonstrate that this ridge is going to begin to drift in towards the central plains as we push through your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it'll set up right on top of us by the time we get to the middle of the week. That'll allow lots of warm, moist air to flow up from the south and keep temperatures fairly warm, but we are going to be watching this system start to drift in towards the northern plains by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, and it'll interact with this moisture potentially by the time we get to your Friday and Saturday. And with that, we could be looking at our next decent shot for some rain showers. We'll see that reflected on Williston's next 5 days with a 30% chance starting there on Wednesday of some afternoon showers. And by Friday, perhaps a 40% chance of showers. We'll have more details on that as it gets closer. Dickinson, quite similar temperatures hanging about 5 to 10 degrees above seasonal normals there in the mid 80s through much of this week with those shower chances creeping in there by Friday. And Minot, very similar. We're going to be hanging there in the low to mid 80s through much of this work week with those occasional shower chances beginning to sneak in with more cloudy skies by later this week in Bismarck. Very similar with those mid 80s and shower chances by this weekend. Joel?
Be nice to see a little chance of rain again soon. Michael, thanks so much. Coming up next in sports.